Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Like Quinn Lisa. And today we are having our Mighty Lair episode as long as my internet holds up. Uh, we're having all kinds of challenges here. But we have I Am for I Am, we on Twitter, or he's just I Am for I Am over there on Den Social. So get an account on den.social, join the Mighty Lair, and join us in the conversation. Be right back right after this. Give us a like and share the video. Welcome back. I Am. Good to see you.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Wonderful Wednesday, is it? Is it Wednesday?
It is a wonderful Wednesday. Yes, we missed you. We were going to do this on Monday, but I was driving back and we didn't get back till really late on Monday from Westwoods, but we missed having you there. We're all excited at the anticipation of maybe having I Am at the Westwood.
I know. I wanted to go so bad. And then we had my nephew and my niece come up.
I know you had
stay
family
with us for a month. So
well, family first. That's okay.
yeah.
We'll have another one.
Absolutely. So look at I would have loved to seen everybody in person that was attending and meet you in person, as well as Clint, everyone. So it would have
The
been
whole
fun.
crew, yeah. And usually a lot of times, I mean, the June one is really fun because they do have like the town fair, county fair thing and all that going on the town square. But the one in October is definitely, the weather is much better. It's not 90 degrees in a cornfield with a bunch of bugs flying around, and I don't know.
Right.
It's kind of crazy.
Right.
But so you wrote another post for us, very thought-provoking.
Yeah, thank you.
Post, and very timely with what kind of we're all facing. And I'm starting to see people, we were just talking about, still having hope and all this. And I'm starting to see people even, in when I call it normie land, when I go over to Facebook or those kind of platforms where it's, all about family and friends and what you ate and whatever. Nothing too political or schools of deep thought over there. But anyway, and you're seeing people kind of start pushing back and saying, like, I think one of the posts I see the most is, if you're better off right now than you were 4 years ago, you're probably an illegal or something like that, or tell me if you're better off,
Right.
And some of those. So I think people are kind of hitting that wall of feeling like they've been put through the grinder. So
yes. Oh, putting through the grinder. That's a good one, because that kind of ties into what I posted on den.social about. It's called The Great Sorting, or The Great Sorting of We the People.
Yes.
To kind of tie into that thought or that idea, like I have the picture there, the Big Apple sort, but it's a grind, because that's what's happening. We're in a grind just to make enough money to put dinner on the table and a roof over our heads, and many people live paycheck to paycheck, and it's a grind, and there's reason for that. But rather than get into the economic side of it, let's talk about this great sorting. And what was interesting was, I don't know if you had a chance to, or anybody listening to this or watching, is I think his name is Neil Oliver, and he was on Tucker Carlson this past weekend. And there was a little brief segment. They mentioned the great sorting, and they both said, "Oh yeah, it's happening."
Oh wow. Okay.
And
so this is a phenomenon that is
right.
Okay.
And that was kind of my light bulb moment to say, I kind of looked into this, and I'm going to write a post about it. So that was the inspiration for the post, was when I heard those two talk about the great sorting. Now, they only just mentioned it briefly and went on to talk about other things, but it all comes back to it. Lisa, have you ever been to a packing shed where they sort like oranges and apples and fruit, like stone fruit, peaches?
I have not had that experience.
Seen anything like it? Well,
Um,
they
Probably like, I mean, I've been to car manufacturing
oh, okay,
places,
yeah,
so,
yeah,
like, that's the biggest factory kind of
something
thing
like
I've
that,
been
right.
to. Yeah.
Well, all this fruit comes in, and the technology is amazing because it's advanced so much. It used to be super labor intensive, sizing the apple through, let's say, a circle, and okay, it fits through this one, so it goes in this box. It doesn't fit in this one, so we'll put it in this box.
Oh, uh-huh.
And now it's all, electronic, and they're put these apples right in these little cups or stone fruit, and it just barely touches an apricot so it doesn't bruise it. And they're going down and they're being optically scanned for color and brightness and weight and size and sorted by quality. It's amazing technology, to be honest with you, when you watch it. Now
Okay.
it still needs people, handlers, to pull the gears and speed up the conveyor belt or slow it down, and a sticker is stamped on the fruit, like I got my apple right here. You get the
Oh, very nice.
sticker, the PLU sticker, um, and it tells you what the apple is at the store, so they know what to charge, what variety sold versus another one, and these kinds of things. And it's a great sorting machine, and all the apples are sorted and put in bins and boxes and sent somewhere else, and sold for different prices. And that is an analogy of who you and I are, and all of us. We're apples, and we're being sorted. And some of us are more conscious of it than others, and how we're sorted and why we're sorted and all these kinds of things. And that's was the reason for the post. Um, we're apples,
Mhm.
and each apple was born free with inalienable rights, right? Um, but our freedoms are being taken away, and we're being sorted. So let's kind of talk about that. So now that I've kind of described it, remember this apple's traveling down a conveyor belt, and it's being looked at. It's being viewed, and there's handlers pulling levers, but we have no idea who these handlers are. Um, and we don't know, you know, how they're doing it. And some of us do, and some of us don't. Some of us could care less. Um, and we're all being sorted and put into these different bins, and we're sorted by social economic, by religion, by maybe status within the community. We're sorted by um, really what it comes down to, Lisa, is, and people are going to be able to identify this, we're sorted by how much trust we have in the system. How much do we trust or distrust the state, the government?
Mm.
That is really how we are sorted ultimately. Um, some apples are deemed superior than others. Some apples are given more privilege. Some apples, like businesses, are what is happening with Eastgate. Winners are
Yeah.
picked, winners are chosen. It's another sort. Um, it's I'm using apples rather than going into animals and all kinds of things, and individuals, but as an analogy. Um, but what do we always say? We got to keep the bad apples away. We can't let those bad apples infect
Right.
the good apples.
Right.
Well, that's what you and I might say, because we probably view and see the world, much the same way. But someone else maybe, on a more centralized plane of our looking at things, would call us maybe the bad apples. But we're all apples, you know. We're apples. It doesn't matter how much color one apple has over another, but we're sorted that way. We're sorted. Why? To divide us. Ultimately, that's why we're sorted. We're not just sorted by um, quality. As a matter of fact, the good apples. Let's just say, let's look at our education system. The good apples, the brightest apples, they get to go to the nice good college because they earned a good scholarship, or they can, or maybe that's their parents went to that. Well, they're going to have a bigger influence, so they're the smart apples. Well, we got to make sure that program those smart apples so that
Are they the smart apples, or are they the compromised apples, or the connected apples? Like, I don't think that has anything to do with intelligence a lot of times.
no, it
They're
doesn't.
the apples with the most opportunity, or, um,
Right.
this is where, yeah. Um, and when you say we are being sorted, it is these systems and controls. Like, just before we got started talking, I was telling you about how I noticed we were in kind of a rough neighborhood.
Hmm.
And it said the cheaper sleeper. It was a place to buy mattresses. And I thought, well, no one in my little snotty, uptight suburb town would go buy their mattress there.
Hmm.
There's no way. No one would even walk in there, because that's not, it would have to say, the king's mattress, or I don't even know
Right.
what
Right.
would be the motivation, but it would have to be the elite mattress store.
Right.
And instead, in this rougher neighborhood, it's like the cheaper sleeper works for those apples, and
Yes.
that's attractive to those apples.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
the matrix of and the marketing of, all of this stuff really does. And then people gravitate to, that, and find part of their identity in it, and then feel empowered by that. But then they're also threatened by anything outside of that. And that's how some of that sorting, separation, and they keep using these terms. If they all called us human or just apples, then there wouldn't be so much division. But there have to
Absolutely.
be gala apples, and there have to be Granny Smith apples, and there have to be all these other kinds of apples.
That's right.
It
That's
just
right.
really gets old.
It does. It does. And we're being sorted. And there's really no escape from it, because what they use our phone, right? The big tech is involved. Big tech was chosen as a winner, right, by, say, Central Intelligence and the NSA, to gather more information about you and I. They
Mhm.
know so much about us. Shoot, we'll even put in, oh, I like this restaurant, and we'll put in a review, and that's being stored somewhere. And
Right.
it's and they can see what neighborhood we live in, what websites we go to. That's stored. It's stored, and that apple is put in a bin. This apple tends to go to this type of website. This apple searched on Google and looked up this information. So guess what? We got to make sure that this apple only sees this type of information. So maybe the smarter apple in the classroom, the kid in the classroom that goes off to college, maybe he or she goes to another university where what? That smarter apple can be programmed to have a bigger influence on apples that maybe not quite as are easily manipulated.
Mm,
And just because you're smart doesn't mean you're easily programmed. Doesn't mean
that's
you're easy. You are
true.
just as, maybe just as easy, if not more so, to be programmed.
Mhm.
We're programmed every day based off of our searches, based off of all the data and information that's being gathered by either social media, corporate media. They know where we get our news. So
Right.
maybe you're a bad apple because you're getting your news over here, and we want them to get this message. So we got to, the powers that be, the endless money printing machine, they can go buy that other news source and start slowly tweaking it. That's what happened with Drudge Report. Slowly tweaking it and get the population, those apples that are going over here for news, they can
Right.
start seeing things differently, and they can kind of, it's just like that apple going down the conveyor belt. We get them back in line, or it's just a bad apple. It needs to be cold. We can't, they're an anarchist. They completely distrust the government. We got to get them out of here. Coal them,
What are you gonna do with them? Yeah.
you know. So,
Yeah.
what is the escape? Is the escape, okay? Well, let's see. I'm going to get my own homestead. I'm going to check out society. I'm not going to go on the internet. I'm going to get rid of my phone. Maybe I'll just change my identity. I really don't think there's an escape, because we
Well, I
have
think
been
they
told.
tried to build. I think when the bad guys were, and this is a theory, but, and now you're conspiring with me, so we're officially two conspiracy theorists.
Okay,
Um,
okay, I'm with
okay.
you.
Yeah, but, so supposedly Bitcoin was a like CIA, NSA, op, whatever. And right now you were seeing our current financial system imploding exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right there for everyone to run to it. Um, and Bill Gates, sorry, Matt Gates proposed a bill today
Yes, yes.
to pay your IRS taxes in Bitcoin. And I was like,
Mm,
that seems like the biggest violation of privacy. He's not looking out for you. And what
no.
are they doing? What's the saying? How you get people off a nuclear sub, you know? And so it's like problem, solution.
Mhm.
They're pointing the way. Oh, come this way. And then we'll be able to track everything because Bitcoin is an open uh, platform software, open whatever it's called, protocol, so
Yes.
that they can see all your transactions. You pay them one time, and we have a friend who
Chain analysis.
paid a three-letter agency with a check, a like paper check, and then that three-letter agency went to the rest of the money in his bank account. Said, "Thank you for giving me the key. I'll go unlock the door."
Mhm.
And if you don't think something like that, which I know Bitcoin doesn't work that way technically or whatever, but they can see your transactions. They
Mhm.
could then connect you to other wallets, whatever. And so for us to stop being sorted, we have to have privacy, I think.
Right. I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. I would take it to the next difference. And while
Okay.
I applaud what he's trying to do, and he's probably one of my favorites in the
I
house.
know. I think he is well intended, but
Yes,
I'm uneducated.
and he's he's one of the very few that doesn't take the lobbying money, or that's what we're told, right? He only takes small donations, and he's become very popular.
Yeah.
And he's doing well, at this.
Yeah.
And
Seems like
I
a
get
good
where he's going, and maybe the big picture. Oh wow, maybe we can kind of train the government to start thinking of crypto or Bitcoin or as a good thing. But my feelings are straight up this way. Hell no, I'm going to give you fiat because fiat is devaluating,
Mhm.
and my crypto is hopefully increasing in value. So the last thing I want to do is give you the government something that's going to increase in value. And secondly, well, actually, even more importantly, is what you said, Lisa. I don't want that chain analysis done on what I've given them. You know.
Right.
However, that chain analysis, in a way, is already given through, say, shall we say, Mastercard or Visa and our debit
Yeah.
card,
Right.
because that information is being captured, and I'm sure AI is all over this, sharing it. And there you go. We're being sorted by what we spend our money on. Just
Yep,
another.
and where you spend your time and how much you spend your time and give your attention, which that was in Cliff High's data, is that like attention or data became like the new currency or um, form of value, I guess.
Yes.
So,
And in my I'm going to read something I got here,
yeah,
real quick. It's from the same posting here, but it says Central Powers Western governments, and I'm not talking about just the US here, but Western governments use various strategies to deliberately divide populations among various lines, politically, culturally, social, economic, etc. They employ government, corporations, and influence groups to do this. So, we just learned recently, Twitter files, when they were, that the government was had an office inside Facebook or Twitter, and said, you really should kind of quiet this person or not give this person much say, silence this person. They're influencing, and it's just Western governments. And the search, okay, well, Snowden told us what they were doing. They're turning the eyes of Sauron, from Lord of the Rings, that on its own people. And if not, they get the FISA court, which is a joke, or the UK does the spy, and then they contact the UK, and the UK gives them the information and say, we didn't get it internally, we got it from the UK, and that was legal. It's these
mhm.
kinds of things. So big tech is working together with all of this to identify us and to help them sort us into a different bin. Um, so it's intelligence gathering is really what it is. Um, and it's been going on forever. the Romans, I'm going to get the Latin wrong here, divide et impera, divide and conquer. They would see a weaker division, and they would either try to divide it within, or they would do anything they could to manipulate another division to be able to control it, or another area of the population. And did I lose you? I don't know if I'm still on, but I'll keep talking. The British colonials did it, in India. They sorted them by religion and by linguistics and region. They sort us by the haves and have-nots. There's a good one. The haves and have-nots. We talk about taxes. Oh, well, tax the rich. They're not paying their fair share. And then the other side is taxes are already too high. And the whole tax thing is just another sword. It's just another fight. It's the fight of the haves and the have-nots to divide us and conquer us. And I lost you for a second.
Sorry about that. Yeah. I had to get a drink of water. I was choking. But I was listening. And I agree with the haves and have-nots, because that really is a conversation when they start talking about the taxes and the haves and the have-nots. The have-nots are the ones that get hit the hardest because then inflation, which is the cruelest tax of all, where the haves, when the inflation is, or when the higher taxes are applied on them, although I believe that's unfair as well, they have wonderful tricks and money to pay their accountants to find the loopholes and all those kind of things that a lot of times people with less funds don't have that kind of resource or time to put into doing those kind of things.
Right. And they're too busy making, a living.
Right.
And the system's working against them because of the inflation's working against them, which isn't natural. It's not, it's artificial. It's artificial from the Fed and from the money printing. And so the have-nots, you're right, they get hit the most. And they're the easiest one to control and to manipulate. And they're going to be the first ones that are going to accept even more control with CBDCs. So that really the central authority, or the state, whatever you'll call it, the deep state, the blob, the Intel super state, rolled up in there with big corporations, etc. They're all working against us in a sense that they're helping to identify us, to sort us, and put us in certain bins. Apple bins. Apples come in all kinds of different sizes, right?
Right.
Well, that size might be, how much do we trust our government? Well, you know what? This person's kind of teetering, so let's feed them this kind of propaganda. That propaganda is working, because they're getting response back. Oh, look at this last post that they made. It's working. That information's getting through to this group, to this person. These group of apples in this bin are starting to think like we want them to think. Our education system, the poor kids, that aren't being taught critical thinking, how to think out of the box, how to think out of the apple bin. They're not being taught these things. Why? Because they want that apple to travel down that conveyor belt and be sorted in the bin that they can divide, conquer, manipulate with propaganda and whatever. And I think the ugliest part is, in some ways, we call it, I'm going to get ugly here first, and then we'll give you the hope.
Okay.
It's kind of checkmate. It's checkmate that we rely on our smartphones, we rely on the internet, we rely on our searches, to search it up and get the right information. And they're watching us. They're watching those keystrokes, shall we say. They're watching how we spend our money. And so in a way, it's checkmate. Or, at least it is on some of the apples, but not for all of us. The political polarization is almost evil, because that polarization is what? Polarization is just another way of saying divided, right? Being ostracized, pushed one group to another group. An apple put in a different bin. The great sorting of we the people, that polarization. And it's the ugly one of, I don't call it a sport in some way, is cockfighting. And I brought that up in the article.
Yep, in the article.
The Roosters are trained to fight, and they attach weapons and on their head and on their on their legs and everything, and it's ugly. And the people around them in this pit are betting on the Roosters. It's the cockfight, and that's what politics. They said politics is a blood sport. Well, it's just like cockfighting, and they're betting. My Rooster's better and stronger than yours. No, this one's going to win. No, that one's going to win, and they get wrapped up in the big gamble, the big fight between the
Mhm.
two Roosters, and they completely lose sight of how inhumane this is, and it's a spectacle, and it's a blood sport, maybe sometimes to the death. It's horrific. It's ugly. Now, as much as I detest politicians, I'm going to tell you that the cocks, the roosters that are in the fight, you know how they do it. They hold one rooster, and the other handler holds the other rooster, and they
Yeah,
get
they
them to
get
fight.
them,
They
try to
jab
get
them with
'em,
each other
yeah,
so that they
riled up.
fight. The rooster is the politician. The rooster is the senator or the congressperson, and they have no freaking clue that they're being handled. There's a handler. And we apples are out there watching this spectacle, and we don't realize that there's actually a handler that's creating this chaos, and it's a blood sport, and it's ugly. And the carnage turns into wars. The carnage turns into more inflation, more out of control spending. The carnage is part of that propaganda and influence over the crowd, we the apples. And it's an ugly sport, and it's just like the taxes. Oh, you're taxing too much. No, you're the rich need to pay their fair share, and all of that. Climate change, not climate change, and
Right.
and all of that infighting is the handlers want this because it's divide and control. Control is conquer. Conquer is control. To be conquered means you're being controlled, you're being manipulated, and it's almost checkmate. And we, the apples, going down that conveyor belt, are being pictured. They're checking our color, they're checking how firm we are, they're checking the quality, they're checking how much trust we have or don't have. And we're being handled. The apple's being handled, and so is the politician is being handled. We
That's
think the
so what
politician, and some of them are
mhm,
good. They're trying to protect us apples, and they are an apple too, but they are
mhm.
also being handled. And we forget that. We forget that the endless money printers, the banksters, the intel deep state of much of the Western world we're all being manipulated because we're being sorted. And if we're sorted, means we're also silenced. Our voice doesn't carry as far. The handlers are the villains. They're the ones that are sorting us, and we can't lose sight of that. But okay, so we're all apples and we're all being sorted, but there is hope. And I'm telling you, the hope is validated, Lisa. And for those who are listening, I know we rely on the smartphone, and we rely on all this new technology that they're using against us. But the hope is validated because more and more of us are watching, more and more are listening, more and more of us are being put in the bin of, I'm starting to question, I'm starting to distrust, I'm starting to think, wait a minute, you
That's
guys
true.
said this and this, and that wasn't true.
Mhm.
And take me out of that bin and put me on this bin,
Right.
and vice versa. And people are waking up. And guess what? The hope, the hope is that we, the apples, outnumber the handlers. The hope is that we, the people, we, the apples, have money that's fiat paper money, sure, but we can vote on how we spend it. We can exit out of the system with silver. We can use our silver and we can exit the system. We can use our crypto and we can spend it and use it as counter economics to the handlers. And before you know it, that conveyor belt that's sorting us apples is going to start breaking. And when it breaks, the bin starts overflowing with too many apples, and they can't get enough bins. Right now, more than any other time in history, they've have more bins than that's ever been existence. They've put more apples in more bins and have identified us. And that identity of identifying us is like seizing property. They've seized my identity of who I am, what I think, what I believe, but they can't take this away from me. They can't take my ability to create a parallel system that works against the conveyor belt. They can't build a parallel system. We can build a parallel system faster than they can sort us once we start breaking that conveyor belt. And we can, because we have the numbers. There are more apples than there are handlers. And that's what I wanted to get across today.
I think that's beautiful. That goes right into, I heard something the other day. So a lot of us that are in this woo community and this freedom community have heard C60 and heard Uncle Cliff talking about Buckminster Fuller, but I hadn't heard a lot of his quotes, and I'm a terrible quoter, but it's to the point of, go stop putting your energy in the old thing or trying to fix or break the old thing, but like go build something so wild that it captures the attention.
Yes.
And brings the energy there, draws it to the newness. And that's why he had those geodesic dome houses and things and all kinds of craziness. So like go build something wild and capture the attention of the new world. Do something positive.
Yes.
I like it.
Break the bin.
I'm with you. Break the bin. Let's get these apples rolling. Well, thank you again. You guys, please join us on den.social, on the Mighty Lair. We've got some great posts here from I Am for I Am, and some little conversation going. That is a place where we have a chat. So there's a group chat there in the Mighty Lair that we can talk back and forth, and you can earn a little crypto while you're doing it. It's a great way to break the bin you might be in. So join us on den.social, and I'm going to get some stuff going over there, and I gotta get them streaming over there. I would love for them to do streaming.
We'll get there.
Post videos, but I can't quite do the streaming over there yet. But we're working on it. Yeah. We'll break that bin when we get to it, I guess.
That's right. Lisa, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And my regrets, everyone. I couldn't make it up there to see you all at the big meetup.
That's okay. We missed you, but you are welcome to the next one. We'll be meeting again in October at Westwoods in Illinois. So hope to see everybody then.
Oh, and tomorrow's World Blockchain Roundtable.
Yes.
AI and blockchain coming together.
Oh my gosh.
Who knew?
It's going to be a wild one. So you guys come watch with us tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central. What is that? Does that make it 11?
Yeah, 11 o'clock Eastern.
11 Eastern. So check us out over there on den.social or on Dragon Chain on YouTube. So I'll be playing it here too. But anyway, you guys take care. Thanks again, I Am.